It's time now for The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg, AM 1430, 810, FM 94.1, and live on the web at espnblacksburg.com.
It's The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg, and a good evening to all of you. My name is Paul Van Wagoner. That guy right there is Brian. He is taking your calls at 961-1430. 961-1430 is the number to call. Love to hear from you today as we head out to our official Scout.com correspondent, Jason Stamm. How are you today?
Oh, hanging in there, Paul. How are you, buddy?
I'm all right. Okay, so I'm gonna throw out the hardball right now to you, and I'm gonna ask you the tough question. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'll try to.
Okay, so you were at the press conference with me on Monday when Coach Fuente was asked how he felt about the play of his centers, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and he was obviously not real happy with the play of his centers, so my question to you is, what's available out there at the high school level right now at the position of center, and are the Hokies on any of these kids, and can they get any of these kids?
Center's a tough position, and there aren't a whole lot of true centers.
Right.
Gallo was a true center coming out of high school. They never asked him to play anything else but that. He was recruited for that, and obviously started every game last season. So,
right.
Most of the time you find guys that, can play every position. I mean, typically your best overall lineman is going to be protecting your blind spot in high school. So he'll be, typically, I guess, your left tackle, but it could be right tackle if you've got a left-handed guy. But, yeah, as far as looking at centers, they've got a lot of offensive line projects or, prospects they're looking at.
Right.
But not really any true centers. I mean, you've got some guards and, you get guys at guard, and you think they could probably move over. I know Aiden Brown is definitely a guard. I think a guy who could play center. He's already committed to him right now. But as far as a true center, there aren't a whole lot out there, and that's normal. That's not like a just only this class thing. There just aren't a whole lot of true centers.
So, based off of what you've seen, and you mentioned Gallo, could it be that may be where he ends up stepping in or where he gets slotted? I know I'm asking you to project something that's almost unprojectable here, but could you see him stepping into that position? And if he does and he excels, could he start playing at an early date?
Yeah, I mean, he's still got a long way to go with Aiden Brown. I mean, he's still playing the senior year of high school right now, but I think that's based on where they are right now. I think that's definitely a possibility. I'm still just surprised with Eric Gallo. I mean, this is a kid who started every game last year. I thought was going to be the starter without question this year and next year, and I'm not really sure exactly what has happened, but obviously something that the coaches, that the staff is just not liking right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You had a chance to be at the Boston College game. I mean, from a standpoint of a fan, from a standpoint of somebody covering it, there's not a lot to not like, but yet Coach Fuente was all about the teaching points. You guys had your 5 points coming out of that game going into the ECU game. What are your thoughts as far as getting to ECU, and are there any of the young guys that could contribute?
Yeah, I mean, you look at that score and obviously a first overall look, and you think, man, there's nothing they could do better. I mean, it was a pretty thorough win. I mean, 49-0 to get that shutout, first shutout they've had in 4 years. But yeah, overall, I think there were some little things here and there. The whole thing with Cam Phillips, I think, was a pretty big deal this week because of who he is. And, obviously, he started every single game last year, and it's been their main guy for the past 2 years. So, stuff like that, I think, sends a message that it doesn't matter who you're playing, it doesn't matter what the score is, that you got to play every single game. And that's something that, not every player takes to heart until they're in that situation where they're kind of learning the hard way. So, you hope that Cam comes out a much better player. Really realizes that, hey, I can't take a play off. I've got to play as hard as I can and do to the best of my ability every single time. But, as far as the young guys, I'm still waiting on when Tavante Beckett. We've seen him a little bit. He's gotten a little bit of time. He did some on Saturday with Boston College. That's a kid who I think is really, really going to be a big-time player for them in the next couple of years. I've heard, the coaches really gush about how he's played in practice and through camp. Just hasn't quite gotten that opportunity to really, play a lot, except for, again, against Liberty. I think he played a little bit in garbage time against BC. But as far as young guys that are stepping up, I think he's definitely one to keep an eye on.
You guys have an article on the website. By the way, you can check them out, scout.com, search for Virginia Tech. Lots of great information on there, talking about Cameron Cloud, the running back. And with the guys like Marshawn coming back and just kind of the way that the running back situation here at Virginia Tech seems to be, I guess, jumbled up, for lack of a better term. There's no clear-cut one or two. It just seems like running back by committee. What is your feeling on the opportunity for Virginia Tech to get a kid like Greensboro, North Carolina's Cameron Cloud?
Well, Cloud is a 2019 kid, so he's still got a couple years left. So, you're never sure how it's going to even play out year to year. You can kind of forecast a little bit a year from now, but a couple years from now, that's pretty tough to do. So, yeah, Cloud is a kid that had, at least as far as I know, still has a Virginia offer. He was offered by the previous staff.
Okay.
His dad played at Elon, so he's got some, I know he's got an Elon offer. But, yeah, he's still got a long way to go, I think. But, off to a pretty good start so far. I've had a chance to see him at some camps. And, as far as running back for 2017, Jalen Holston still is the target. I mean, they've got a few other guys they're keeping an eye on. I think we've talked about Jalen on here before.
We have, yep.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a guy who was going to commit 2 months ago and hasn't done it. So he's waiting around on something, or I think otherwise he would have committed already. But, 2017, 2018, obviously 2018, you've got Ricky Slade coming up, who's going to be the target, probably one of their top targets in state. Again, we talk about they've got running backs right now, but Ricky Slade is that type of in-state, 5-star big-time kid that could really make a huge difference for him. Kind of, brings to mind guys like Ryan Williams and some guys that Virginia Tech has had in the past.
Does it then mean that, like, a kid like Cloud, and I know that he's a ways out, being a 2019 kid, that maybe he's kind of lower on the priority list for the Hokies? I mean, again, with the age, with the time away, and the fact that there's obviously some bigger targets, bigger in the sense that they're a little bit more in the forefront as far as when they could potentially play. Does that kind of drop him down a little bit on the priority list?
I think so for right now, just because you don't know. I mean, I think he's still going to, grow quite a bit. You're not sure how he's going to even physically be by that time. I mean, they obviously have him on the radar.
Sure.
I expect him to visit. If he doesn't visit this weekend, it'll be for one of these coming games. It may be Miami here next month. But, I mean, I expect him to visit. So he's very interested in Virginia Tech still. They have interest in him. But, yeah, being a 2019 guy, I mean, they're starting to look more at the 2018 kids right now. And obviously they want to finish up the 2017 class. But paying attention to all these 2018 guys, quite a few of them were made visits this past weekend. Nolan Johnson, John Harris, a few of these guys that I think they're in pretty good shape with so far. So, yeah, those guys kind of take priority just because of where they are and a little further along than a guy like Cloud, who's still a few years out.
Buzz Williams was on the sidelines for the Hokies game against Boston College. We saw him on Hokie Vision and a couple of other places during the game. Did he have any recruits on the sidelines with him as far as I know you and I have talked about this, getting the kids in for official visits during football games is kind of a big selling point. Did he have any kids down there with him?
He had a ton of kids down there with him, mostly younger guys. No official visits this past weekend. Guys like B.J. Mack, who I think we have him at 6'6". We need to update that. He's more like 6'8", 6'9". That is a big kid. Still only 2019, and you can tell just still he looks young if you look at his look at his face. Obviously, physically he's a pretty big kid.
Right.
I had a lot of guys in attendance who I think will be guys that we're looking at, especially a couple of years from now. But yeah, as far as some of the guys look on the sideline, just because of his size, B.J. Mack from down in Charlotte was probably the biggest one who stood out.
Now, I know that there are still some, I guess, wants, maybe even needs for the 2017 class for Hokie basketball. Are they making any progress with any of these kids?
Yeah, I mean, they still want a big. Still would like to have, if maybe, I guess at best you'd prefer to maybe have a combo guy, a guy who can handle the ball a little bit, but who can do other things for you. Again, like I've said before, they've got a really, really good commit in Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yes.
A guy who's probably, we're talking about maybe sticking around a year or two, and he's gone to the NBA. He's that kind of good and has that kind of potential. But bigs-wise, G.K. Obina is still probably at the top of the priority list right now. They're looking at some other guys, but I think that's probably their best option, and it has been for a few weeks now. And unless he's changed something, things are always subject to change. He's planning on visiting not this coming weekend, but next weekend. And so, I know he wants to make a decision here probably this first week of October. So that will be a pretty big one to watch. Wabissa Bede is still going to be visiting this weekend. So you got some guys that are still Dre Perry, another one, Devondre Perry. So there's definitely some guys still that they're looking at. Again, they want to have at least one commit, if not two commits, for the 2017 class, in addition to Alexander Walker.
Yeah, and obviously there are still some questions remaining as far as I guess from a football standpoint. If we're going to get, for the love of God, his name slips me right now, the point guard that plays wide receiver for the Hokie football team.
Oh, Devin Wilson.
Devin Wilson, thank you. If Devin Wilson is going to actually come back and play basketball, are you hearing anything on that? I mean, is it kind of up to Devin sort of a thing, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much is up to Devin. He's committed to playing football through the season. So, you got to think he's not going to be doing anything, especially there when you get to, like, December. There's always, and this is assuming that Virginia Tech gets in the bowl game.
Sure.
You have a couple weeks there where you're, kind of taking it easy a little bit. It's finals are finishing up. So, he's still keeping in contact with basketball and still doing stuff with him, but not a lot right now. It's been probably 95% football.
Okay.
So around that time, into December, I think he'll start to kind of transition and work himself in a bit more for basketball, and still planning on playing for the ACC schedule, which starts New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Again, it depends on when that bowl game is, as far as when he makes his debut this season for the basketball side. But at the very latest, it should be a couple games into January there when he rejoins the team. So yeah, as of right now, that's still the plan. Hasn't said otherwise. So we're still expecting him to be with the basketball team come the first of the year.
You can check out Jason's articles on the VT Zone. Just simply Google the VT Zone. You'll find them. Or if you go to scout.com, search for Virginia Tech. Lots of great information on there. I'm looking at the list of 2017 basketball recruits right now, and the Hokies are on a bunch of them, man. I guess the question just is who comes in, right?
Yeah, Linda Wigginton still way up on the top of the list.
Yep.
Daryl Morcell still up there. Both those guys are going to be a little tricky to get, and they've got a pretty good chance. We'll see how Bede's visit goes. That could really determine where he goes, and obviously Dre Perry is looking good. So, yeah, they're still in good shape with a lot of guys, but, as we're getting closer to the early signing period, you're going to see the talent pool goes down.
Yeah.
They need to start making some moves on these guys and figuring out exactly who they can get and really close on, like I said, at least one, if not two more of these guys.
You mentioned Morcell. He's listed as a shooting guard, 6'4", 190. He's got Virginia Tech into his Final Four. Is it who right now, I guess, is the leader in the clubhouse, if you will, on him?
Yeah, I still think Villanova is probably the leader there.
Okay.
Them and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I'm not sure where he's going to stand with Notre Dame as far as if he's going to be a take there, but I think if he is a take, it's probably going to be down to those two. So Virginia Tech's kind of on the outside looking in.
Gotcha.
I think they could depending on how it shakes out, could sneak back in there and grab him. But I think right now they're sitting in probably third or fourth.
There you go, Jason Stamm. He knows what's going on. He's got it covered. And if you walk by their tailgate, on Saturday, you got to get there kind of early. But if you walk by their tailgate, he'll offer you up some chicken wings too. Jason, as always, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Look forward to chatting with you next week.
All right, so can we save chicken wings for you this time?
Well, if you guys don't leave, I mean,
I got bones wings.
I got a pregame show I've got to do. The earliest I can get there is 11:30. Man, you got to wait for me.
Okay.
All right. Don't pack up your tent. Just 11:30. I'll be there. All right.
All right. We'll try not to.
Jason Stamm, thank you as always. I appreciate it. We'll look forward to chatting with you next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks,
Take
Paul.
care. There you go. Jason Stamm. Scout.com, the VT Zone. Check it out. There's it's ridiculous the amount of stuff. Like the number of players that he has to remember and know, and it's basketball and it's football, and he just just off the cuff knows. Like, I know it's his job, like I get that, but I'm always in awe of him, man. When I get a chance to talk to him and just say, okay, what about this guy? And he knows. What about that guy? Yeah, I know him. He's a 2019. Don't worry about him. You got time. How do you know this stuff? Like it's impressive. That's for sure. Coming up, we're gonna take a look at Big Papi, what he's got going on in Boston. I know it's his final year. I'm telling you, if I was Papi, I'd be reconsidering. I'd be like, you know what? Papi still got it, man. We'll talk about that coming up next. It's The Drive.
ESPN Blacksburg, AM 1430, 810, FM 94.